welcome college football fans, specifically our favorite, Big 12. I'm your host of the Trevor and Bryce Show, Bryce Petty. We need Trevor Knight.
14. How we doing today, my friend?
Brother, it is great to see you. And you look dapper, man.
Thank you.
You just look good.
You know, it's getting a little more chilly outside. Threw the vest on. It wasn't cold enough to put on the long sleeve today, but you know, it's getting a little chilly, hanging out in the house, having my coffee, doing the whole deal.
You're such a Texan, dude. It's like, I don't know, 62 degrees and you already got a vest on, huh?
I look like I could be going and playing a little golf. Boy, do I have you guys fooled. Welcome, everybody, as Bryce said, back to the Trevor and Bryce Show. We've been rolling with you all season long, talking about all things Big 12, and boy, has it been a fun year. We have had ups, downs, and everywhere in between. And Bryce, we are nearing the end of the season.
Bedlam week.
It's Bedlam week, and there are incredibly high implications specifically for three teams. Well, really only two, and we'll get to that. One team in our conference has already clinched a spot in Jerry World for the Big 12 title game. A couple others are fighting for it, and we even have some teams that are fighting for a bowl game position. So a lot to talk about today. Bryce, let's dive straight in. For the first time, I think, in the show's history,
long time,
we are not going to the Oklahoma Sooners first. We have determined, because this team has clinched a spot in the Big 12 title game, we're going to start with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. It was, kind of what we expected, right? A trap game, an opportunity for Oklahoma State to go and to assert themselves as, at least for a week, the leader in the Big 12. They're 10-1 now. And they pitched a shutout. Pitched a shutout there in Lubbock. Bryce, give us your thoughts on that game, and give us your thoughts on Oklahoma State just as a team this year. We've talked about Spencer Sanders, Jekyll and Hyde. They're going to slip up. And here they are again. Mr. Mullet himself leading this team to a 10-1 record. Pretty remarkable, isn't it?
To be totally honest, it really is. And they were picked, we were looking at this, pre-show. They were picked third by the guys that know everything to finish third in the conference. But, to be totally honest, what we are seeing with Oklahoma State right now is what I think is I'm trying to think of what the word is for the assistant coach of the year. I always know it. It's not the Broyles or the
Broyles Award.
Is it?
The Broyles Award, yes.
Jim Knowles. Good grief, dude. Your defense is stout. And I think what we're seeing, to answer your question, Trevor, is a unit that is completely hitting on all cylinders right now. This defense from top to bottom, you don't have a whole lot of big names out there. It's not a Georgia defense. It's not even though Alabama hasn't played great on the defensive side of the ball, it's not your defensive, just stout dudes that, you're going to have 6 guys go in the first round. They just play really, really well together, and they travel. They get off the bus. This is a game, again, 1 offensive touchdown in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
I know it.
That's it. That is insane. So these guys are hitting their stride on defense, playing really well. I think it sets them up. They've already clinched, like you had mentioned. But going into Bedlam, I think that Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler, whoever, Lincoln picks to play, is going to have a really, really tough time. We've talked about it on the show how hard Oklahoma State and Stillwater, are to play in. I think it's going to be a tough, route for Oklahoma to win there. But this game against Texas Tech, holding, and real quick too, another stat for you out there. This is the first time Texas Tech has been shut out since 1997, which is just nuts. So, man, the boys, in the orange and black are rolling, as much as I hate to say it.
Yep, they're rolling. To your point, first shutout since 97. I know it's their 3rd string quarterback, may even be 4th, 5th, 6th. I don't know. Donovan Smith plays the game. When was the last time you heard a Texas Tech quarterback with a stat line like this? 9 of 29 for 83 yards in the air.
It was windy.
It was windy.
It's really windy.
You're playing at home, man. You're playing at the Jones, a great place to play. Historically, a team that at least will put up points. They get run through like, poop through a goose. Typically, they've got horrible defense. I was gonna say a bad word, but you guys know the saying
analogy.
there.
No,
83 yards in the air for Mr. Smith. Not good. Hats off to Oklahoma State. You clinched a spot in the Big 12 title game. A lot still ahead, and I think Mike Gundy has always done a great job of keeping his team singular focused 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
And in that mindset. So looking for them to come out and play really, really well this next week, and we'll get into that a little later in the show against Oklahoma. But, man, Oklahoma State is rolling. You look for a team to be playing their best ball in Championship November, and they have taken that on and absolutely done that. So big hats off to
on the defensive side of the
Oklahoma
ball
State.
too. On the defensive side, right?
Yes.
You kind of assimilate that with an offense that's really clicking. Scoring a lot of points. Defense gets them off the field. These guys are doing it all on their defense. And rushing and I'd love to do some due diligence on this. I don't know if our viewers and fans know of anything why my man Jaylen Warren has been out. The last couple of weeks, not getting as many touches. Dominic Richardson is playing ball.
Yeah, he is.
But
another Jaylen Warren's still at 1,000-yard rusher already.
That's what's crazy is and whether or not they're just and they're not really blowing him out. But Dominic's getting a lot of touches. So, anyways, it's a backfield by committee, meaning there's a couple of guys running the ball back there. They do it every game, a lot like Baylor. They know who they are. They're going to run. They're going to run. They're going to run. Spencer Sanders is not turning the ball over as of late, which is a great thing for them.
That's the biggest thing. That's what scared us all year long about Spencer Sanders is that he has the ability, and it's ability is probably not the right word. You are looking for him to make throws where you're like, oh, hold your breath. He's only turned the ball over 6 times this year.
Yeah.
That's winning football.
I know.
Is he putting up crazy numbers? Not really, but he's not doing things to lose his football team the game. The defense is playing great. They've got a solid rushing attack, and he's just making plays when it's asked of him and not forcing horrible, horrible throws like we were scared about seeing. So, again, hats off to that whole crew up in Stillwater. It's going to be a fun one this weekend coming up.
No doubt about it. Baylor at K-State. This was a great one. This was just grown man football, to be totally honest with you. I think we had talked about it. Maybe didn't emphasize it enough how physical this game was going to be in the trenches. Front 7 for Baylor versus the front 5 at K-State, vice versa. You got 2 running attacks. Guys that have, or really teams that have solidified and identified themselves as a run-first type of offense. You have a 7th-year senior and Skylar Thompson with K-State, his senior game, or senior night rather. And, there was a lot of emotion in Manhattan. And Baylor has to win this game. They had to win this game, to stay in the fight, and they did it. They took care of business. This defense, I tell you what, I know Oklahoma State, we talk a lot about Oklahoma State in the Big 12 in terms of defense. This defense that Coach Aranda has put on the field, man, they come to work. We had a little blemish there against TCU where we just there was some communication things, and especially in the back end didn't play real well. But they are starting to, again, kind of grow into that identity of who they are. This front 7 for Baylor is really, really they're a talented group. So, anyways, it was great to see that, and outside of one long run by my man Deuce Vaughn, really kept him in check, which was a big thing kind of going into this game.
Yeah, but you look at the stat line, and Deuce Vaughn still, rushes for 128 yards and a touchdown. So he did his thing. What they did was they made Kansas State very one-dimensional, and they made it tough on them. If you watched it, it looked tough for Kansas State to move the football. I have to give it hats off, though. You mentioned his name, and it was his senior night. Skylar Thompson, one of the toughest dudes in college football.
Man.
How many times over the past 2.5 decades that he's been there have we watched him land on his back, grimace in pain, and just keep coming?
Yeah,
I know. He's been a staple and of that locker room for sure, but also of that team for a long time now, and they're going to miss his leadership moving forward. I have no doubt that they can plug somebody in there with just the culture that we've talked about all year that Kansas State has. But big time for Baylor to go on the road to Manhattan, which we've also talked about as a tough place to play, especially late in November, especially with the implications of chasing your dreams of winning a Big 12 title and to go out there and just play stout like they did. It's interesting, and we'll get into it later. But Baylor still got a shot to fulfill their dreams of being back atop the Big 12 for the first time potentially since Mr. Number 14 sitting right to my left was hoisting that trophy. So cool, really cool for Baylor and that program because they did not have these type of expectations coming into the season.
No.
I know we've talked about Dave Aranda and his culture driving skills and how great of a coach he is, but I don't think any of us predicted that it would happen this quickly.
Yeah.
And really be a force to be reckoned with at this point in the season. So hats off to the Baylor Bears. I'm being really complimentary today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You ought to try it.
I need
more often.
Something needs to make me mad here in a second. I'm going to go off on something.
I'm sure
we'll get to it.
Real quick,
two more games down, and we'll get to it.
Yeah,
don't
no doubt about
worry.
It. Before we leave off this game, though, I haven't read anything about Gary. This week I need to read up and to see if he's going to be healthy. I say that he tore, looked like he tore his hamstring, popped his hamstring, whatever, which is not fun. I was never a runner, so I don't know what that's like. You had wheels. That's
never popped a hammy, and I've heard that that's one of the worst because, I mean, you know how you can get banged up like as a kid. You go outside and you get banged up. You can move around. It may hurt to the touch, but it's all good, right? When you pull something and you can't go ride your bike because your hip flexor hurts or your hamstring hurts, it's depressing as a little kid. You got to sit inside and talk to your mom and dad and do weird stuff.
I guess
it's the same. Maybe that was a horrible example, but it's the same type of deal. You pull your hamstring, and it's not like you can go out there and just be fine the next week or shake it off.
Right.
It's you, in the back of your mind, I don't want to overstep here, or else this thing's going to go again, and I can't play after that. It's it's a tough injury, so hopefully he'll be all right.
I hope
need
so too.
him.
And he's solidified himself, especially in the last couple of games, of being dynamic in the run game. And so if you have Tristan Ebner, Abram Smith, and Gary Bohannon running it back there, it just provides a lot of different opportunities on offense to play around with that with Jeff Grimes and what he's been able to do, but also kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit as a defense. But I tell you what, a little shout out to Blake Shapen. I mean, holy smokes,
I was
dude.
about to say, yeah.
Coming in there and played really, really well, was efficient, knew the offense. I mean, you came in, Sugar Bowl, right? Was your first?
No, I had played that whole year.
Why did I think that the Sugar Bowl was that's not good.
Nope.
Concussions are bad. Okay, stay in golf, kids. No, I don't know why. I thought, anyways, regardless of that, maybe I just was trying to say a big game. For Blake Shapen again and what we were trying to put together, for Baylor coming into and had to have a win. When he came in, it was a tight ball game. I mean, he came in and played the second half, and it was at that point 17-7 ish, maybe even 14-7. So coming in and being efficient off the bench is all you can ask for your guy, and especially in the NFL, you see it a lot, more often in terms of. Having to kind of prepare in a way that's mature, right? For him to come in and not really, look, it's Gary's thing, I'm just going to cool it on the sideline. For him to be as young as he is and say, hey, man, I'm going to prepare well and know what I'm doing. I mean, this is a redshirt freshman. So, all that being said, or I guess a true freshman. So all that being said, my hat's off to you, buddy, and I hope that Gary's okay. But, man, it just in terms of what's coming down the pipeline for Baylor, you got to be excited about that. So,
watching that game as a Baylor fan, Gary goes down. I mean, he's been a huge part of your success thus far. Everybody's kind of holding their breath a little bit, and then, like you said,
hiccup?
No.
Oh, you were holding your breath. Sorry,
hold my breath. But Blake comes in and like you said, just wise beyond his years for a freshman, for the coaching staff to have the trust in a freshman to come in a situation like that with a lot on the line in terms of your season outlook. Hats off to him.
Yeah, really good.